Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today I wanted to revisit, for the last time, and very briefly, hopefully, water effects and the final decision that I've made and a couple more experiments that I did on it. So if you're sick of me talking about water effects, then feel free to skip this video. But if you're interested in seeing just a little bit more on it, then you might want to stick with it. Before I go on that, though, I just wanted to mention that I recently saw a video produced by Brian Gregory. That's his YouTube name, Brian Gregory, spelled just like it sounds. And he posted a response video to my Styroplast review. And I really appreciated his review because he showcased a new product to me, called a Styro Spray, that's it, by Industrial Polymer, and I haven't actually visited the site yet. I'm going to check it out a little bit later this evening, but it's got some similar properties to Styroplast, and what I like about his video is that he does a really thorough job of explaining application, key points, differences in its, its viscosities and its, sagging when it's applied, and cure times and storage, and very, very thorough review. He only has a couple videos up, actually. And I checked out the other video, which was him using a Dremel to carve sedimentary rock in a wall, for the backdrop of a gaming table. So, kind of an interesting technique, something I hadn't considered before, and I think worth checking out. So, anyway, I'll put a link to his Styroplast review response down below in the description when I post this up, and you might be interested in checking that out. But today, it's about water effects. So if you recall from my previous video, I'd been looking at silicone and acrylic caulking and decided that LIquitex Gloss Gel was really producing what appeared to be superior results. LIquitex Gloss Gel comes in, it's the red label, and somebody pointed out that I shouldn't be using this, but instead I should be using the green label, which is the gloss medium and varnish. Now that keyed me in thinking varnishes typically tend to be more durable. That's what their design is for. So I immediately ordered a bottle of this and decided to play around with these two side by side to see. What I did, and maybe I should just give you a little looky-loo here. Let's see if you can see that. Of course, it's dark and I've used almost all of it. And I'll show you the project that I used this on just in the next video, actually. But it's a sort of a very soft gel. Let's just call it that, all right? What I decided to do is create a variety of applications here, and I'll put it against the white backdrop so you can read this a little bit better. A variety of applications whereby I would apply the gel by itself, then I would varnish over the gel. I'd mix the two as a 50-50 mix. I'd apply the varnish by itself, the varnish as a really, really thick layer to see if I could get any ripples in it, as well as a mostly varnish with a little bit of the gel added in to see if I could build just a hair of body so I could push that around. As a control, I decided to put down some Mod Podge as well in the upper spot so that I could do any tests to the Mod Podge as well as all these other combos to see which one would improve the durability, if at all. Perhaps the Mod Podge is performing better than I think, and I'm maybe doing a lot more work than I should. So, you notice that there are several arrows on this. What I did is, after applying it, I then decided to put an object on it to weight it and leave it overnight after these had fully cured. I applied these on the 21st of the month, so that was almost 10 days ago or so now, 9 days. And what I did is each of the different materials I put down, these are Herstarts blocks, these are the Fieldstone wall sections. I figured they're relatively uniform in mass. I actually weighed them and each one weighs just about, oh gosh, I forget, I want to say an ounce. wait a minute. I did math. Let's see. I'm sorry. 5 blocks equals 1 ounce. So what I did is I put down 2 blocks, and then I put down a stack of 5 blocks, and I marked the corners of the blocks with the 5 being on the right-hand side. Whoops. Well, anyway, you get the idea. I stacked up 5 blocks, and I let them sit. And I let them sit overnight. Then I removed the blocks from all of the different spots and tried to compare how much wear it produced. Did it dimple it? If so, how much? And then tried to also monitor it, here's a key point, over time. Why did I do that? Oh, wait a minute, where'd it go? Here it is. You can't see me frantically running around grabbing stuff. One of my previous Mod Podge experiments was to take this older piece of river. This is an older curved section that I had on the shelf that's actually discontinued now. And I put a small hex nut with a paint pot on it. And over time, I did that for a day, and what it did is it produced an impression of the hex nut in the Mod Podge. Now you're probably asking yourself, why don't I see that right now? Because it actually, over the period of the next 5 days, it completely disappeared. So the Mod Podge seems to have some rebound ability, and in fact at this point I can no longer remember which side I did it on, which to me is a good enough indication that it rebounded to its original shape. So it has some give and was able to sort of restore the original appearance if it, wasn't too severe of a defect. Although I know I have had experiences where the Mod Podge has been marred in ways that it cannot rebound. But that was an interesting observation. So I figured for this test I should apply it, make an observation the day of, and then watch it over time to see how the results change. Let's get these off and I'll show you a couple quick observations. I'll try to be brief. It's a challenge for me here. So first, this gives you a sense. Notice it is still a little cloudy. This is directly a result of the humidity in the basement, which is running around 60 to 65% when I'm not actively cranking the dehumidifier, which can get it down only to about 50%. And I'll talk about clearing this up in a second. Before I get into the wear experiment, one thing I noticed is that with the 50-50, I entrapped a lot of bubbles, and I don't know if that'll come through, but a lot of bubbles in the mixing process that didn't really come out. I don't really like the appearance of that, so I was very reluctant to pursue this in any case, but I decided to continue with it in the experiments just to see. I did, well actually I didn't even do the weight on it because I didn't like the way it came out, and I was like, I'm definitely not doing that even if it's harder. But I did do the mostly varnish, and again, some bubbles entrapped in it, but if I can get a little reflection on there, not a lot of body. Mixed up, I cannot push that into a wave. As you can see, even a thick application of the varnish, it's very self-leveling. So there's no real way to use that by itself, but I decided to see if it would be more durable in any case, so I left it in for the test just to see. And then, of course, I did the gel, and then from here down, applied the varnish to it. Now, it did change the ripples a little bit, but not in a way that I minded, but it also did entrap a little bit of bubbles because of the brushing against the ridges. Alright, so I want you to see here in the Mod Podge, let's see if you can see that, there they are. See that burr? These are burrs that were left by the blocks after waiting a day on them. This remains to this day, 10 days, well, let's say 6 days later. And it did get actually better than when I first removed the blocks, but definitely not acceptable to me. So this gives me at least confidence that I'm moving away from a product for the right reasons, as it really isn't going to be able to withstand, objects placed on it overnight, for instance, and then picked back up next day. In the, let's see here, okay, it's just a little bit of dust. In the gel, the LIquitex gel, and I'll see if I can get a nice big close-up here, I really couldn't find any mars in the surface from the blocks. I think that is partly due to them riding up on the ridges of the waves, and they're not super high, but they're a little higher than what the Mod Podge produces. And I think that angularity visually is obscuring any of the marks that it may be making on the surface of it. In any case, it's very hard to detect wear on it. I noticed a couple marks when I did, some thumbnail presses and whatnot. It's not impervious to damage, but it definitely looks better than what the Mod Podge does by itself. So I'm going to be moving forward with the LIquitex on all water features from now on, as it's the best that I've found, and seems to, definitively say this is a better product to apply. And you'll see in my next video the river sections that I did with this, so you can get a sense of how it looks under a painted surface. The last thing I decided to do was calculate Well, maybe that's better in frame. There we go. If 5 blocks have a weight of 1 ounce, right, and it has an area of a half a square inch, basic geometry, right, it's a 1 inch by a half inch, so it has a surface area of a half a square inch. That's producing 2.2 ounces of weight per square inch. That's a measurement of pressure, right? It's mass divided by area. Now, in order to produce this amount of force, pressure, for a boat, say 18 inches by 8 inches, which has a 144 square inch surface area, it would need to weigh, if I've done my calculations right, over 316 ounces, which would be equal to about 19 pounds, to be able to put as much pressure as I put down with these 5 blocks over that little small area. I don't know if my math is right. If anybody sees an error in my calculations, please correct me, but I think I've done it right. I double-checked it. In any case, that means that this should be able to withstand a boat being pressed on it, and therefore should be suitable for play use on large playing surfaces such as the modular boards. That's the goal. We'll see after it's been in use for a little while and I get feedback from customers, but I feel a lot more confident putting this out than I did with coating the surfaces with the Mod Podge. So, in conclusion, the LIquitex Gloss Gel, I think, is the best material I've seen to put on surfaces for water features. It has a stiffer consistency than a soft liquid, so it forms stiff peaks, and I have to apply it with I use popsicle sticks actually, and I have to gently sculpt it into waves. Application time, a little bit longer than the Mod Podge, because I have to take a little more care and I have to go back over and remove stiff peaks, but has a little more flexibility in that you could create a variety of heights of waves to give different kinds of rough water effects. Not as stiff, however, as a Woodland Scenics water effects, their gel. Their squeezable gel in the bottle form is, I would say, about perhaps almost twice the density of this, so you can get really stiff peaks out of that, and that you probably won't be able to get because of the soft nature of this material. But it's an excellent in-between between a self-leveling like epoxy resin and a very rapid, rough, tumultuous kind of effect that you can get from a Woodland Scenics water effects. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to put questions or comments down below. Any feedback that you have, especially if I've done any error in my calculations, please let me know. As an ex-science teacher, I would be very embarrassed if I've done my calculations improperly, but I would be humble enough to admit it should anybody catch them. And this will be the last time I revisit water effects for quite some time. I don't plan on making any changes, and I've spent a lot of time looking into this, and I don't plan on doing any more videos on it. So if you're sick of it, I'm done. And if you want more, you'll have to wait, because I'm not doing any more. Unless there's a radical new development in materials that comes onto the market, in which case I'll jump right on that, but I don't expect any in the near future. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope you found this helpful, and keep an eye out on the channel, as I'm going to show in my next video how this application came out on a large series of river sections, and I think you'll like what you see.